Today I want to talk to you about some shifts I think we need to make at Wings of Fire School District. Here's a quote from E.D. Hirsch Jr. that guides today's thinking. Communication and community through the common school is the hallmark of a successful modern nation. I think that is an important quote. Let's start with our current WFSD mission statement, which I think is due for a change. To provide all students a secure learning environment and exemplary academic programs that inspire all students to reach their full potential. Now, let's start with this. Which one of these do you think the school of the future should look like? We are often shown slides like this in educational presentations. It seems clear that we should be favoring 21st century skills on the right with their active, collaborative student activities over desks, instead of rows on the left where students passively learn in an outdated factory style. This juxtaposition is wrong on many levels. Let's talk about why teachers resist reforms. They might wonder if they'll be supported. They might wonder if something will work, but often the reforms feel very familiar. These concerns are valid. The project method of the 1920s has become the project-based learning. Discovery learning is now called constructivism, so many of the things that we have tried before, we continue to try with new labels. So to return to our question, what should WFSD students gain from our curriculum? There aren't many here who would argue for the left side of the column. Surely critical thinking skills are more important than facts and memorization in the age of Google. In fact, here's how this taxonomy should look like. This is Bloom's taxonomy. He made it into a pyramid for a reason, because you need a wide base of knowledge at the bottom of that pyramid in order to engage in any kind of critical thinking. But the question remains, why teach children facts? Can't we Google things? Isn't science speeding up beyond our control? Information exploding at increasing rates, just like videos like this that we've all seen on the internet? Well, hold up. The change that is happening is at the bleeding edges of science and technology. Its rapid growth is more reason for students to know the basics that have not changed. For example, Newtonian physics is still very useful. Most words, even on a web page or blog today, would be in ancient dictionaries, and Euclid's math, for example, geometry, and so on, still has not been corrected. The things most likely to change, such as coding languages and social media, are often introduced to students in the name of relevance. Facts are also needed very much for reading, and this has to be traditional knowledge so students fill in the gaps of the things they're reading out in the public sphere. But what about the other question? Can't you just look things up now? Well, what if you don't know many of the words and facts in a reading passage? How likely are you to fill in the gaps on the fly? Would a child be frustrated with a passage like this? I think so, and I think it also looks very easy when we know what things like polar bear and Arctic and thousand are. But this isn't an indictment of reading tests. They test what they purport to test, which is general grade level reading ability. I just would add that to have that kind of ability, you need a wide base of background knowledge. The best scalable way to improve student performance on these tests and on real life reading tasks is to build background knowledge that fills in the gaps. Kirshner summarized this conclusion of cognitive science thus: long-term memory is no longer seen as a passive repository, rather long-term memory is the central dominant structure of human cognition. So how do we build long-term memories that will serve our students in reading comprehension and all manner of cognitive tasks? Natalie Wexler describes the best kind of curriculum this way. Ideally, schools will adopt a curriculum that builds that knowledge in a logical sequence from year to year, balancing familiar and fresh content so that students are challenged but not overwhelmed, and revisiting concepts periodically to reinforce learning. The Core Knowledge Foundation provides free curriculum to any district who asks. Check it out.
Before we got CKLA, we're basically kind of scattered.
I think we were just not meeting the needs of the kids. I think teachers felt frustrated within the classroom, always trying to supplement material.
We also really thought it was important to have something that continued to spiral throughout the year. Instead of teaching things in isolation, it's teaching a lot of different concepts at the same time.
And when we came across CKLA, it wasn't presented with a big sales pitch. There weren't a lot of bells and whistles. It was just pretty straightforward. Here's a program that can address, foundational skills. It's got a content knowledge, and it's going to work for your EL students as well.
Let's take a look at what this might look like. Here's a very brief list of topics that's actually covered in the core knowledge sequence that they provide. Notice how it advances chronologically, but also spirals, touching back on topics like the Constitution and the Civil War, and ensuring students commit this to long-term memory while building in complexity. Curriculum at Wings of Fire School District is always going to be a team effort that cycles back. We will have admins, department leads, classroom teachers, and other stakeholders, including students, involved in the curriculum process. This organizer, which is available online to all of you, shows how teachers, administrators, and students are all to be involved in a continuous cycle of curriculum improvement. Not only will there be a central curriculum committee with curriculum housed online, but classroom teachers will be involved in professional learning communities for data-driven discussions regarding what isn't working and what is. Here's a curriculum committee membership and the various duties, which again, this will be available online to you all to peruse at your own leisure. This is what lead teachers are doing providing walkthroughs, and referring teachers to the PAR team as needed, which is a very collaborative process and not evaluative. Also, department teams will meet with classroom teachers, where they'll run lessons and reflect in RPT meetings with reflective plan team meetings and other PLCs to determine what's working and what isn't working. I don't want to spend too much more time on this. Again, it will be available for your inspection later on, but the main point is that this is a collaborative process and it is continual. This slide, also available for your future reference, demonstrates the ADDIE development model, which contains analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation, which we will be using for our continuous curriculum process. We do have a plan to cycle through all the subject areas. Notice in particular that we combine ELA and humanities here at Wings of Fire School District, and that's because those subjects go together in a core knowledge ideal of spiraling information. What a student learns in history, for example, also applies to language arts, as students build knowledge across the curriculum. We will be taking an active role in evaluating best practices with curriculum tools. Leveraging technology, we are rolling out a Yelp for education practices, which we call Firewings Web. The idea is to get good ratings from teachers through this system, ascend to blue ribbon status, and subsequent funding and endorsement by the administration. There is simply no substitute for knowledge. It is the gap that Natalie Wexler and other reformers talk about, the warp and woof of human cognition. No gimmicks, a proper limited place for metacognitive strategy, and the most valuable thing we can give our kids for an equal place in society, time and focus on building internalized knowledge of the world outside the walls of the school. Let this revised mission statement represent our shift in practice and theory. It is now the vision of Wings of Fire School District to create a system where all students achieve intellectual growth, cultivate civic responsibility, and become useful members of the community.